This is WAW. What a week.
What a week. PoliTricks.
Dumelang, Eita, Sanbonani, hello. And you can throw in any other language that you speak. We see you, we appreciate you. Thank you for joining us on WOW What a Week, hashtag PoliTricks. My name is Tato DJFRESH Sikwane, and as always, my partner in crime, rhyme, and grime. Make some noise for Botsang Modimowame Moiloa.
Brother Fresh, good morning. Apsheni, Dumelang, Bonjia, Guten Morgen.
He's showing off some of his diplomatic postings, is what he's doing. So that if ever the government of Cyril Ramaphosa wants to redeploy him as a diplomat, he still speaks the languages. So German, Portuguese,
Basic Russian, basic Spanish.
You're an international man.
Yeah, well, I'm a citizen of the world. Yeah.
So let's get straight into it. I think let's start with the EFF.
Yes, brother.
Because literally, as we were done airing our episode last week, murmurings did the rounds about how at the Congress or the Assembly of the EFF at Nasrec in December, Mbuyiseni Ndlozi has been prohibited from attending.
Yeah.
I don't think there's been any confirmation from the EFF or from Ndlozi himself. What is going on? Is this a possibility, or is it just disinformation for whatever end?
Look, what is a little bit confusing? What is going on, I don't know. What is a little bit confusing is that this media reports, it was from two, I would say, credible, Sunday papers. I saw in one article actually that City Press won an award last year to be the most reliable, weekend newspaper. So that's why I would say it's credible. They reported that, and as you correctly say, there was silence from both parties. But I think what is going on is it's towards an elective conference, and we know that there's been talks that while members of the EFF, majority those from the student movement of the EFF, they prefer Dr. Ndlozi as a deputy leader of the organization, while the leader of the organization, Julius Malema, prefers advocate, well, I don't know, he's an advocate, Goodrich Gardi. Yes, and Fresh, towards elective conferences, these things we play in the media. That's where the media plays a role in influencing political party conferences and outcomes and who should be taking positions. But what is doing injustice, in my view, to the members of the EFF, it's such damning media reports and the organization goes silent. For Ndlozi to be silent, I can simply think that it's like, I'm not going to entertain the media. I don't want to find myself being charged for bringing the organization into disrepute. But the organization must bring confidence on its members to say there is nothing like that, or there is something like that in the pipeline, and here are the reasons. However, if this happens, I actually see a rebellion inside the EFF. If Ndlozi is going to be barred from attending the elective assembly or elective conference of the organization come December, I think there's going to be an exodus of people, particularly from the Student Command Council, who will leave the EFF angrily or who will just stay back. More and more people in political organizations, they don't leave. They don't just leave these days. They stay away from the activities of the organization. Some will even decampaign it. They don't go and they openly join another political party. I think Dr. Ndlozi is being pushed to come out and to say, is he going to Umkhonto weSizwe party? And I don't know why he's being aligned to Umkhonto weSizwe. What if he thinks of going to any other political party except Umkhonto weSizwe party? So I think it's being put in there. Buttons are being pressed. But I think it's also been smart by keeping quiet about it. At times, when your detractors try to give misleading information or to put in a tight corner, your only way to fight back is to keep quiet. And then silence become golden, and you keep them more confused. But if he is really wanting to contest for the party deputy leader position, I think he should be waking the ground by now. Because the campaigning time is open. Nothing stops him from going to the branches of the EFF and to other formations of the EFF and say, I've raised my hand, nominate me now. Don't have to wait, or from the floor when I'm there. So it's a very complex situation, Fresh. But like I said, it's speculations that came with media reports. We don't have anything formal.
What do you say to people who say, the long and the short though, in the bigger scheme of things, because things are not as democratic as, say, in a party like the ANC, where we can contest healthily, openly, that I want that position, you want that position, and we're going to go for voting. What do you say to people who say there isn't enough of that within the EFF, and that it's treated like a company more than a political formation?
I would disagree to some lesser extent because I've been to the EFF elective conference. There's persuasions, there's briberies and favors happening behind the scenes, like in any other organization.
It's not bribery, it's lobbying.
Yeah, well, you call it lobbying. For me, it's bribery. If I'm going to buy you a bottle of whiskey that you might bribe you with whiskey or whatever.
Hi,
or promise you
I was
something.
helping you wet your whiskey, so you can be better lubed to make a decision.
So that you probably not even wake up in the morning to go and vote because you were too drunk from the whiskey. But I would say it will be very unfair to do that. When we speak of lobbying and other things, it's fine. But if you look at inside the conference, I mean, they even use the IEC to run the independent electoral. There's many of those formations. They even use them, and people are nominated. And again, Fresh, when people talk of democratic centralism, what is wrong? Look, in democracy, you say let's allow people to vote for who they want, but is Julius not one of the people? You understand what I'm saying? He's a member of the EFF. Let's forget that he's a leader. He's a member. He can stand up and say, as a member of the EFF, like any other member, I prefer this candidate. Yes, his weight will have more influence because he's the leader of the organization. But he's still a member, so he still has a democratic right to can say, I'm rooting for Mr. X. And it's a very thin line, but again, there's no perfect system.
Sure.
The democracy in its own, the fact that those who have the means, the branches that have the means, we saw what happened with the EFF in KZN when they failed to put people in buses to come to the whatever event they had, they were disbanded. So those with the means will always have an upper hand. Even in the ANC that you claim that the democratic people contest, but we know that money exchange hands. They themselves, Gwena Mantashe, the chairperson of the ANC, has said, money is exchanging hands. Then the conference was bought in Nasrec. People were giving money in paper bags. They said it. I'm not insinuating or alleging.
Is this when NDs had lost?
Yes, you understand? They considered to that. That's why today a lot of people in the media industry, they are still referring to the 2017 ANC elective conference as the conference that was bought with 2 billion. And the funders of that came out and said, yes, no, we did. One gave 1 million, another one 15 million, another one. So where is democracy when money is exchanging hands? And that's why, talking of the EFF, or going back to the EFF, if I was an active politician, I would prefer what Umkhonto Wesizwe is doing now. To say these conferences have brought problems. They've divided the organization. We've seen them. They're dividing the EFF now. That's why Umkhonto Wesizwe is saying, I'm not going to play into the hands of those with money or with resources or with material. We will hold this thing back. We'll use what people call dictatorship. And for me, I don't even think it's dictatorship. It's asserting the command council or the central committee to say, we are in charge, we are the central committee.
Sure.
Whoever is not happy with us is happy to leave. It minimizes the risks of infiltration and infighting in the organization. That's what it do. People must not be bought into this thing of democracy. I mean, Donald Trump just swept the carpet and bought the elective conference elections in the US, and it's money that played a role there. Nothing else. Yeah, of course.
In fact, Elon Musk was even paying people $1 million.
$1 million on the story you will treat or write about that manipulate, not to say they don't have good policies, not to say they didn't present convincing, arguments to the electorate, but manipulate a big role. And that's why I say I'm not crazy about democracy. I call it democracy. It's there's a devil inside democracy.
Even Dlozi was to wake up next week and saying he's contesting for CIC. Would that be acceptable?
Well, it should be. Nothing stops him from doing that. Actually, the way things are tense in the EFF, in my observation now, if I was him, I would do that. Because in the past, people will question in the EFF, who are you to question the CIC? But I think the CIC has gone too much into the throats of many people in the EFF. And some are saying, we are not going to leave this organization that we love, because the CIC is misbehaving. And I laugh, Fresh. I laugh when I look at this whole thing. Because I told people as way back as in 2015 that the conduct and the behavior of Julius Malema in running the organization is not a democratic one, and for me it's not acceptable. You understand? I challenged them for that. You say, but this is not how you talk.
Was this
people.
when you were in the party?
Yes, that's when I was in the party. I wrote to Dalim Pofu, who was the chairperson of the party, and I was a nobody. I was just a person in the sub-region of Tswane, and I said, but no, we can't be working like this. We can't be dictated to by the central command person and all the time. He has lieutenants. You've got other members, you've got other regional leaders and so forth. So unfortunately, they will have to live with it.
What was the result of you complaining?
Quitting politics and never going back. Quitting politics. You like asking that question. It makes me very happy. I can see.
No,
Let's
that
get
make me
back.
happy. There's a saying, F around and find out.
And find out what will happen.
You found out.
I found out very nicely. And look, people, if it works like that in political parties, I was talking to some PAC members or APLA forces, now with the PAC leader deciding to go to bed with DA and ANC, and they're left cold outside. The guy decided, I'm going into parliament, I'm going into the GNU, I'm going to take a cabinet position. You can jump the lake and swim. He doesn't care. So if it works like that, where's democracy? People elected to put into power. Once you are in power, you don't listen to what they put you there for. You tell them, I'm in power, I'm in charge of you. And like I said, people will call it democratic centralism when it suits them. But when they want the vote, they go to the branches. When they're already there, they're like, no, but you elected us to be here.
Let me work.
Let me work. I'm doing my work. My first part of the work, if I'm the leader of the organization or the country or what, is to ignore you after elections. I'll be nice again to you after 4 or 5 years.
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's move underground. Last weekend, literally just after the last weekend's episode aired, we found out that an urgent court application was made by one of the NGOs.
Yes.
That the mine that had been blockaded must be unblocked, and help must be given to the miners underground.
Yes.
And that's what happened.
Yeah,
so food was sent down, and I think as that story was unfolding, we got a better understanding of how crazy the setup is. That just for one person to go underground, they use a rope.
A rope, yeah.
And it takes an hour to lower or hoist up just one person.
One person, yes. Well, look, Fresh, we did touch on that last week. Human rights kicked in South Africa. And we did say that as much as we understood what the minister Ntshavheni in the presidency was trying to say or trying to explain, and you yourself said, is the manner and the tone she used. But also, I went further and said, you will see how NGOs and the Human Rights Commission and everybody else will kick into this whole thing. And the court decision, which is interim because the full bench sat on Tuesday as well to look at it, it didn't come as a surprise to me. Everything is enshrined in the constitution of the country. So once you start touching what they deem as human rights, and people are making noise outside, talking about, but how can you afford criminals, people who have broken the law, an opportunity to exercise their human rights, it still doesn't make them not human. And this is what the people don't understand, that even a criminal, whether it's a rapist, a murderer, a thug, or a robber, the constitution of this country still sees them as human beings primarily.
Sure.
The rest are for. That's why when even Brigadier Atlina Matov SAPS, when she was explaining it, she said even before we arrest them, we are required by the law to make sure that we arrest a healthy citizen. What if we put somebody in the police cells and that person, dies? Then the police you will have died in the hands of the police. So they check their health, they check that the person is well hydrated and all that. But there's other elements that I thought of, when I looked at this whole thing unfolding. Have you noticed that, and with the viewers and the followers, that the Democratic Alliance and the white people in general, and represented by OUTA. I know OUTA is not a white organization. It had colored and black people, but it's predominantly the administrative wing of AfriForum. And AfriForum that is working hand in hand with the DA and representing white capital. And AfriForum, OUTA, the DA, they're quiet about this mining thing.
But they're consistent though.
Let
me tell you why. I mean, we could argue the exact same thing regarding the deaths and the poisonings in the townships.
Yes.
From kids eating contaminated food. That, you can disagree with me if you want, you can hate me for saying this if you want, but because it's black lives in the main, you're less likely to hear from them.
Yes. But in this instance, I think they are quiet because they are white capital. They are benefactors of this
so you're taking
trade.
it even that far?
Yes, I think.
Yeah, because this gold has to go somewhere.
This gold has to go somewhere. And do you want to tell me that the Democratic Alliance, having been the watchdogs, this thing didn't start now with the GNU of illegal mining. It's been there for over 10 years. They've been quiet about it. Who's benefiting? Where is this gold going? Where is the money coming from that is funding those miners? One of the leaders, the guy who was arrested by the police to be questioned. Do you remember the shooting in Soweto Tavern where 15 people were killed? There's a gentleman from, I don't know if it's from Lesotho, but he's got a full Sesotho name, who was not arrested but taken in for questioning for the attack at the tavern in Soweto. Yeah. Okay, he has come out publicly on front of the TV and said, we are making per month 123 million. He was even exact with figures from the Zamazamas membership fees, because that's why they pay 150 rands each to the organization, to the structure.
Yeah.
So he says per month.
So what structure is this?
And the Zamazama structure. There's a body that's representing the so-called Zamazamas. Organized fresh. And he goes, and you must check YouTube. That interview is there. And he goes and says, they ask him, what about the gold? Where does the gold go? He said, no, the gold, there's a market where this gold has been going all along. And now this brings me back to the Minerals and Energy Act that was passed in I think 2005, if I'm not mistaken. There's an act where mining companies are paying a certain amount of money, and it amounts to billions of rands to the state, so that when the mine closes, it must be used to rehabilitate that mine. Like closing the holes that the police close, fencing it around that kids and people must not have access
and
to.
Even that rehabilitation, in the bigger scheme of things, it's a farce, man.
It's a farce.
I mean, if you're going to close a mine shaft like you're closing a drain, you're not closing the mine shaft.
You're not closing a mine shaft.
Eventually, and because a lot of these Zamazamas are ex-miners, they know exactly what they need to do.
They know exactly where to
They've
go
got
and what needs to be done.
And many have years of experience.
Now, Fresh, if I sit here and say, and for me, this is a gift to intelligence people. I would be thinking like that if I was sitting in their position. I would be thinking like, what if the same mines, and I won't mention a specific mine, that claim to have closed, now they are employees who didn't get their retirement annuities and their pension.
They were retrenched.
They were retrenched. They bring them back as Zamazamas to continue with the trade. Now they avoid what? Pay minimum wage. They avoid to pay taxes. They avoid to pay regulation fees like the MRE, fees for the rehabilitation.
It's like a parallel operation.
Yes, it's the same mine doing the same thing in inverted commas, illegally. You understand? Because nobody has ever checked why are all these mining companies that are currently active or previously owners of the mine, why are they also silent? Where is the gold going? You understand? So it is the same market. Why would these people trade with gold so easily within the Gauteng, municipalities?
And there's only X amount of gold traders who are licensed. And there are very few places you can go to smelt the damn thing.
Exactly. So it's professional people. It's the same as this copper thieves and all that. This is a well orchestrated, well planned. So for me, these people are operating business parallel to government structures, and they know, and they're doing better, and they're making more money. You understand? They're making more money.
Then they formalized it.
Yes, they formalize it on the side, and that's what the government should be focusing on, the bigger picture. The bigger picture of where these things are going. I mean, why is the state not using the money to capture few zamazamas, question them, even if they have to pay them to sell information to the state, where is this gold going? You understand? Those are some of the things they were supposed to be informers, recruit them into the side of the state. If they are being paid, let's say 4,000 or 5,000 rands per month, give them 10.
No, they're making a ton of money.
No, but
they're making a ton of money.
I don't think the guys who goes underground, they make a lot of money. I think the person who receives the gold.
So you don't think it trickles down?
Nah, I don't think it trickles down.
They wouldn't stay down there for as long as they do.
Fresh, if you don't have food, and if you are used to be staying down, if you don't have money to feed your family.
Some of these guys stay down there up to a year.
Yes, I know.
Not even coming up.
They're not even coming up. I've read those stories, and now we've been told that by the court decision that there must be some. What made me laugh first, and I laughed about it, to be sent ARVs. Now this is the government. That's okay. I was like, why ARVs? You understand? Fine. Some may be sick. Some may be having on record that they are suffering from HIV and AIDS.
Also, in the bigger scheme of things, you can't just willy-nilly just send ARVs generally. Because different people might be on different ARVs.
On different ARVs. So where does the state get information which ARVs to send there? How does the state know?
Because someone came up with information. No, because I think one of the miners was pulled up.
Yes.
And he said, this is what we need down there. We need food, we need water, we need ARVs, we need this, we need that.
But the ARVs, let's focus on that. The ARVs that you are talking about. How does he or the state know which ones? Because you don't know the medical conditions, the blood types, or the prescriptions of the people who are downstairs.
But clearly maybe they do. Maybe they sent a list that my name is Lucas.
And the state have those
I am
people.
on this one here. My name is Thabo. I am on this one here. And I've got 5 days left of supply, so please send urgently.
We are running a parallel state underground, as you said. And it's not only that. I mean, the court order said they must also open the holes that
where they blocked on the other side.
Where they blocked, so they must use one exit. So they can't be smoked, as the minister said. And those were for humanitarian purpose, and people are not happy about it. On Twitter, the young ones were saying, we may just as rather send them beer and pizza. If we could, we are struggling as a nation to have ARVs in clinics, in townships and squatter camps and rural areas. And people who have subjected themselves, I'm not being inhuman, I'm being realistic. But Fresh, I blame the government. Again, where is the rehabilitation fund? Where is this money that is supposed to rehabilitate these mines? Where are the former owners of these mines? We have been knowing and hearing about this thing forever. And why are we reacting only now?
I would like to boldly even say, instead of criminalizing what these mainly men are doing, because based on what we've heard already, there's no one with zero experience that's going to go down there and mine anything.
Never.
So these are clearly ex-miners. Chances are they were retrenched or a mine closed and they were sitting with no job.
Yes.
And because this is the skill I've had for 5, 10, 20 years, that's what I know. That's all I know.
Let me use that.
So, and I think the Artisanal Mining Act only allows for you to work above ground.
Yes.
Why then not modify the act and work hand in hand with these guys so that if we are helping you maximize your skills that you have learned over these years, and you do have the skills to retrieve the residual gold down there.
Whatever left over is
Why
there.
can't we formalize it so that, one, these people have jobs again?
Mm-hmm.
2, you can tax whatever income comes out of it. 3, then we don't have to worry about criminalizing
Illegality.
something that we could find a way of formalizing. Then everyone wins.
They've done it. I've said last week, there's an organization in KZN who have done that.
But
And
not for deep dive mining, though.
yeah, but it's working in the same modus.
Hence
The
I'm saying,
same
can't they
model. The
modify
model is there.
it? Can they modify it?
It will take a political will to do that. You are having a crisis now that you can't solve. Courts are against you. The communities are against you. The mining associations or representatives of these people, the constitution, the human rights, everybody is against the government in this instance, except that citizens are saying we are not going to be spending money with people who are damaging our infrastructure and who took themselves down there. But we are sitting with the situation at hand. It will be much more wise to amend the laws. And I always say, guys, everything that is illegal, and if it's not harming, amend the laws to accommodate people. Amend the laws of the country, change the laws of the country to can accommodate this. Because you are having a situation, you are having a socio-economic situation, you are having a humanitarian situation, you understand? And you may be generating revenue from actually legalizing and come with a model that will assist these people. But again, Fresh, as I said at the beginning, if former miners and illegal gold traders are benefiting from this and are the actual, kingpins of this trade, they wouldn't want it to be formalized because then they will have to pay heavy taxes. It will expose them as well. So we need, the government must have a political will to can make this decision. And they have to do it soon. If they're going to go and come with the white paper, then the blue paper, then the Amendment Act, and it's not going to work because work is continuing underground. And to stand up and paint this whole thing with a brush to say these are criminals, it's not going to aid the country and the situation, because then you will be spending time in courts.
Yeah.
And again, I was thinking when I was driving to the studio, what is the other problem here? Why courts are so busy that they even sit on a Saturday? I've been waiting for over a year for my court date, and people just get it in 2 days. It shows and demonstrates that our political office bearers, they are not in tune or in touch with the laws of the country. Either they don't know or they disregard them. If I was a cabinet minister or a member of parliament, I would have known that smoking these people out, even if it is whatever term used, it is illegal. It will face, no court was going to approve that, to say you are cutting people, you are forcing people out.
So basically you're saying hashtag know your own constitution.
Know your own constitution. Know your own laws that you are about to implement or supposed to implement. Because once you know, you wouldn't be taken to court and you lose all the time. Because they're losing, the government is losing court cases. NGOs knows the laws more than the courts. And more than the parliamentarians or political office bearers. And that's a challenge to have somebody as a minister who doesn't know the constitution of the country. Basic things, the Bill of Rights. The Section 2 of the Constitution, it is very clear on what is human rights. And once you start stepping on what is human rights, and whether they are criminals or they are wanted people, that's not the issue. As I've said, the issue is the Constitution says humanity first.
What you're entitled to.
Yeah.
Dignity and life.
Yes, and then who made that? Who wrote it? Who stamped it? Who danced when Mandela was having it on the head? They had the whole opportunity to amend it all the years.
Why are you dancing like this?
Because that's how the old man used to dance, and everybody didn't sit. Nobody went to go and read. I read the Constitution whenever there's something happening in the country or in my personal space. I go and I check what is said in the Constitution. Like I went to check what the Constitution is saying now. And I've checked that it's even Section 22 that talks about conducting business in South Africa. I never read it before. I knew that anybody who is legal in South Africa
can eke out a living.
Yes, he can whether, and people don't understand what is legal.
Yeah.
Even an asylum seeker is here legally. You understand? So people are saying, but if you're an asylum seeker, why don't you stay in the camps or there?
In fact, looking at what's been happening in the townships regarding informal traders and people who have spaza shops and tuck shops, because now you must register your operation, the people who are now hiding behind the fact that Home Affairs says, unless you're investing 5 million rand, you can't operate a business in this country. But on the flip side of that, one of the reasons there are no refugee camps is because a decision was made that asylum seekers can come here, and instead of us having to have them in refugee camps and having to look after them and everything else, let people in, give them asylum, and allow them to operate legally in order to eke out some sort of living or existence.
So that there must not be a burden on the state.
So surely these two then are at odds with one another then?
Yes. No. But I think also once you start reading the Constitution or the immigration law, not hand in hand with the Constitution or with the trade laws of the country, business laws, or whatever you call them, you must read these laws together.
Yes.
You understand? And I said to people, once you are legal in the country, you are entitled to the rights like a South African. You can go and open a spaza shop. You must register it. Now they've been giving 21 days to register a spaza shop. Mr. President, I think the president must wake up. I don't know who advised the president on 21 days. I'm telling you, even in 21 weeks, fresh, I've been in government long enough to know, even in 21 weeks, you would have not registered all the spaza shops or informal tax shops of this country.
But how much of it, again, is political will and giving a damn about managing the project, as it were? I'll give you an example. On Sunday, electricity meters that have not been updated or software updated
I've heard about
will
that,
become obsolete. But we've known this for years.
Okay.
So, for instance, in, I don't know if it's Cape Town or the Western Cape, 99.9% of their meters are done because they started doing this in 2021.
Rolling the process
They started in 2021 already engaging with communities that, guys, the deadline is coming in 3 years. But more Gauteng, all of a sudden there's a panic.
I didn't even know about it until 2 days ago.
All of a sudden there's a panic that my electricity meter will be obsolete by Sunday. And if it becomes obsolete, I need to buy a new one. It's 12,000 rand.
Is it only the prepaid ones?
The prepaid meters, yes.
Oh, okay.
No, it's the prepaid meters. So basically what happened is you'd be sent 2 keys that you put it to your prepaid meter. Because I did mine like about 6 months ago.
Okay.
You get 2 keys that you key in. Those do the software upgrade.
Oh, okay. So this is software upgrade.
It's like an upgrade. It's a software upgrade. So from Sunday, if you haven't done the software upgrade, basically your meter becomes a brick.
It will switch off. I've heard the minister, saying it's not deadline. Is what did he explain? He said it's a technical thing. There's nothing they can do about it.
Like I said, it becomes a brick.
Yeah.
You can actually use it to defend yourself if you need to, because it becomes a useless thing. But the point is, and we like complaining about we're not going to make the deadline, but often we knew long ago.
Yes.
Hence I'm saying that, is it an administration thing?
It's the culture.
And for instance, this perpetuates the thing that the DA try and drill down our throats, that we govern better. Because like I said, if you look in the Cape, no one's complaining about this meter thing, because they've been doing it for the last 3 years.
It's again, fresh. It's the culture of our people doing things late. I don't say it's a good thing, I'm explaining. Look at your driver's license renewal. We all wait until the last day. Some of us, we even wait and abuse the 21-day grace period. You understand? For renewal of your license.
Still don't do it.
And still don't do it. But again, now if it's going to affect the people that they are like, look, I don't care, I don't have electricity, and it will affect the lives of people that it will go off. You can imagine what it will do to people. You can imagine how illegal connections will start and all those things. But going back to the issue of the 21 days to spaza shops and all that, it's unrealistic. We know, the government is saying they don't have the resources, which is the human resources and capacity to can do general day-to-day issues in the municipality. I'm not talking about these new things that have come. The government is reactive. The government is pushing a paper to the throats and the eyes of people who have lost their children. And that's what the government is doing. The government is saying, we are implementing measures. That has been the law. To own a spaza shop or to sell food, the laws have been there. The government has failed to implement and or enforce the law where the law is broken. Now that a certain number of kids, black kids, have died. The government wakes up and say, you've got 21 days to go and register your spaza shops. And you know the value chain of registering a tech shop as spaza shop, it does not only include your municipal office. It includes health or environmental health. It includes trade and industry or CIPRO. You know that, I don't know what they call it at the moment. It's no longer called CIPRO. The company registration under small businesses and everybody. We know, Fresh, we know, let us be honest, that this will not happen in 21 days. And there's a challenge we are faced with. And now, the 2-year operation to do that in Soweto, the Minister of Culture is going to be, or has met with them to say, but they are blocking foreign nationals. Who are, what do you call it, foreign nationals, for example, the Somalis who can apply. They say they must give South Africans priority first. That is unconstitutional.
Yeah.
And there's a court case, you remember, in Limpopo, where the Somalis and some NGO gang, then they took the, I think it's leader, the Limpopo Development Agency, and the small, but they took them to court. They won the case. The Limpopo government tried to go to the Supreme Court of Appeal. They lost. They were not granted leave to appeal. So there is actually already a high court decision from the Limpopo, a high court that says that you can't say foreign nationals cannot go and queue in the same queue with locals. If you are number 1 and is number 2, a South African is number 3. A South African number 3 can't say, no, you are a foreign national, shift. Then comes me. And again, this is what I always tell our people. Right or wrong, it's enshrined in the Constitution. Right or whether we like it or not, it is the same Constitution, maybe fresh, and people may say, I'm hard. Maybe we deserve what we are going through, not our kids dying, the struggles and the challenges, because we have voted and put people into power, and we let them sleep in Parliament and make laws or pass laws that are to our detriment. Now the government can't do what the people want because the other arm of the state, which are the courts, are saying if the state do this, it will be illegal and the state can't do it. And that's the challenge we're faced with. We have political office bearers who don't know the laws of this country, or where they know, they fail to implement and enforce the laws until there's crisis. And that's why we are troubleshooting at all times. We are sitting there with fire extinguishers. We don't prevent the fire from happening. We want to extinguish the fire, and that's the kind of a society we are.
Do you think that maybe we're slowly getting to the source, though? On Wednesday in Durban, they raided a warehouse where they found imported, expired goods that were ready for distribution in the country.
Absolutely.
And for me, it's a problem that it was so easy for them to get into the country in the first place, because it means then the ports are porous.
And when I've been talking, and again, I must put a disclaimer that when I speak of ports, I'm saying it in my private capacity, not in my official capacity. That our ports, and people think ports, it's only land ports where illegal immigrants from Mozambique, Zimbabwe.
It's not just the Limpopo border.
No, it's not just the Lebombo border post or the one in Bay Bridge, or Maseru. There is 73 ports of entries in this country, and almost 15 of them are seaports, and that's where illicit goods come in as well, in more bulk into the country.
And surely this also then partially explains why it's so easy for certain spaza shops to undercut other spaza shops with price points.
Yes.
Because they're selling expired goods.
Yeah. Exactly, and there's also an internal trade whereby spaza shop owners, they don't go to the so-called big supermarket or what you call wholesalers. They go and pick up these goods at the port.
Yes,
understand? And from the exporter from China or Pakistan or what, and they've got a whole value chain. They know each other.
And it's wild how in this warehouse they found that there's not even a segregation of goods.
Yeah, everything is put
Insecticides and food are literally next to each other.
And thumbs up to the subs in KZN that they acted with immigration and import and customs. I've been to these warehouses.
Surely it should be borderline treasonous to bring in any food stuff that you know is expired and that you're going to sell for human consumption.
Yeah, but you know where the problem
Because you're trying to kill people.
But you know where the problem is.
Or you know your actions could kill people.
Okay. Let me tell you where the problem is.
Tell us.
The problem is, in order for these people to be found to have done a treasonous act, of attempted murder or what, it must still go to court. The people who have died. It must still go to. It's the court that must actually
determine
that. And how long does it take to go to court? These people may say our container was stuck at the Durban port for longer than we expected. It's not our fault. They expired when you, South Africa, had the challenges with your container terminal port in Durban.
Then maybe you need legislation that says you're not allowed to import anything that will expire within a year.
For example, in passports, let me make an example with passports. Other countries, they will say if your passport is left with less than 2 pages, clean blank pages,
yes, you're not allowed in.
We're not allowed in. They don't say if it's full or if you have some spacing for stamp. They've put a legislation that says if you are left with less than 2 pages, we're not allowing you into the country.
So surely then let's tighten the legislation.
We have to tighten the legislation
foreign food imports.
Yes.
That if your product is going to expire within 2 years, it shouldn't come here. Because otherwise we become a dumping ground.
Another thing that I had suggested before,
yeah.
But I was talking about something in the law. You know the warehouses where the government confiscate illicit goods like they did in KZN in Durban this week. We have one in Beitbridge. I've been inside that warehouse. You know that goods stay in that warehouse sometimes for over 3 years while the case is running in court.
Wow.
Why are those goods standing there? Because it's an exhibit that must be presented to the court. You understand? And when they are sitting
Why is there no specialized court for such cases?
Even if they can, all I'm saying is, and I've came with a suggestion, record this thing in front of the experts, videos, cameras, photos, do an inventory of what is there. Let the court, let the law be amended.
So an inventory that's admissible in court.
Okay. Experts have signed off the inventory. That was my suggestion. And why? Because you are minimizing the risk of criminals and corrupt officials to access those goods, and they end up in the market with the consumer. We know that we have a problem of corruption in ports of entry, in warehouses of government. We know. I mean, I grew up in the West Rand. We used to have a big problem with what they call 13, where government is keeping vehicles that are, you understand? Those vehicles will be stripped.
There's a pound.
Yes, there's a pound. They call it 13.
That became a chop shop.
It's called a chop shop. Whenever you wanted car parts, you will go there in Kagiso and you'll get your battery and your door. But you minimize. What you do is to minimize the risk of these goods ending up where actually we don't want them to. Destroy these goods immediately after you have done an inventory.
In some countries, even cars that are confiscated are destroyed immediately.
But I know, I told you the story of Italy. In Italy,
they don't even wait around.
In Italy, because they are driving little Fiat, their domestic car, so the criminals and the mafias and the drug lords, they were out driving the police
with the Lamborghinis and everything. Yeah.
So now when the police confiscate them, they just rebrand the police vehicle.
Yeah.
You understand? So just progressive states. Why do you want to keep the so-called organic phosphate or halipirimi, as they call it in the township? Why do you still want to keep it in the police warehouse, where a corrupt police person who's underpaid may steal the same products and it end up in the community even much more easier? In this instance, you minimize those risks. You destroy these goods and put these people in jail. Make it a law that these people must not be subjected to what you call like bail, easy bail. Make special laws for such. But now, fresh, it is the life of a black child. And how many have died? A normal government would have acted when the first 4 or 5 kids died. We're in our 30s everywhere now. You understand? Yesterday morning it was in Deep Kloof. Again, it's in Soweto. With all these measures have been put into place, the government is talking and is pushing papers when lives are being lost. I don't say the government must break the law, but there is something that we call the state of emergency. We have seen it during the COVID lockdown. Why wouldn't we do the same at the moment?
In fact, there's breaking news on ENCA. Government classifies foodborne illnesses as a national disaster. Kochta minister says they're working on the declaration of the disaster. More details to come.
Finally. I've been saying that for weeks. Fine. That's what they should have done initially. You understand? If if we, instead of saying go and register while they're operating, they still have 21 days. How many more people will die in the next, it's no longer 21 days left now, it's 21 minus 7, it's 14 days left. How many more kids will consume and more people will die and be sick because of this thing? Enforce the existing law while you are trying to aid those who are in business. That's what we are supposed to do.
Absolutely. Can we move to Mozambique?
Yes. Sadly again.
We're moving to Mozambique because nothing has changed.
There's something that has changed there.
And,
more people died.
Well, yeah, so nothing has changed because nothing has changed. It's, for me, it's so glaring how in Mauritius they decided we want a new government, and it happened.
Yeah.
In South Africa, they decided that we want to try something else, and the ANC understood. And we are where we are now because the ANC understood that the people have spoken. Same thing happened in Botswana.
Yeah.
But in Mozambique, oaks are hanging on. It's very glaring how oaks are hanging on.
And you remember last week I said my biggest worry with Mozambique, it's a civil war erupting and people are there. But now it is the government that is killing the people. Fortunately, it is not Mozambicans killing each other, fighting from political parties, Renamo and the independent candidate and Frelimo. Fortunately, it is the law enforcers, particularly the military, that is killing protesters. And on Thursday afternoon, the independent candidate, I think it's Lagame as well, I don't know, maybe it's related, the other guy who's, they've announced that next week they're going again on an intensified 3-day national, lockdown or strike. This happens under the nose of, Munangagwa and the SADC team meeting in air-conditioned offices, and they're not coming up. A week has passed, SADC hasn't come with a statement of what to do. And me and you, we know what they should do. They should just call for re-elections or recounting, or to tell Frelimo leaders, for peace sake and for your own people, step aside. Let's recount.
And for our sake also. Because your people are going to come here.
Yes, we will have to accommodate them. Our country, actually, we must open Lebombo border post. Our constitution says if crisis erupt that side, we must open for humanitarian posts. They are our immediate neighbors. They will come in here. They will go to Eswatini. Fortunately, they can't go to Zimbabwe because Zimbabwe is faced with the same crisis. And that's why the people in Mozambique, they were crying to South Africa to say, South Africa, help. If you don't help, we are coming to, into your own country. We'll be your neighbors. And then they know the constitution more than our own law. Lawmakers, they know that the constitution will protect them.
To what end do you think these protests will carry on, and also Frelimo will hang on and dig their heels in?
Fresh,
so something has got to give at some stage.
The way I've observed the happenings in Mozambique, and in the past it used to be in the northern provinces or state, where Cabo Delgado and others.
Yes.
But now it's all over the country. I don't think the people are going to back off. I'm seeing the situation unfolding the way Kenya unfolded, where until the government backed off. But in Kenya, they were not saying the president must go. They were saying you can't implement these laws. This
law doesn't work for us.
Yes, understand. In Mozambique, it's much more difficult because what the people are asking for, it may take Frelimo out of power. But a caring nation, I think, eventually, Frelimo, if SADC puts its foot down, Frelimo will have to concede to either recounting or re-election.
But you won the election fair and square, so let's have a recount.
Yeah, recount is an easy one. I think
actually you won.
Yes. So why are you doubting? If you say it was fair, why don't you recount?
It's just a recount.
Exactly. Look, I've lived in Mozambique for 2 years, and I've traveled that whole country from top to bottom. I know you Mozambicans, and I said I don't think they're going to back off. I don't think the citizens, the ordinary citizens, they are going to back off. They are tired. South Africans didn't back off by removing the ANC from power, but it just happened differently here. Because people did it by voting. But if the ANC would have rigged the votes, would have probably been in the same situation. You understand? So I foresee Frelimo conceding to a recount, which look, like I said, they may come and say, let's recount, and they come back with the same result or a little margin. And they will say, but we accepted it. And so, but I don't think people will back off. I think it's the government that is going to, soften its stance. And maybe one of the things they must do is to stop killing protesters. When people are protesting, what do you call it, peacefully, and are not destroying infrastructure, there's no need to kill them. But
there's no need to kill your own people at any stage.
Yes, but even if they choke the economy and they block the borders, it is in the nature of protest that people will be, will be disadvantaged. Our normal daily lives will be affected. It is in the nature of protesting, and people should be allowed to do that.
Sure.
If they damage infrastructure or capture them, charge them, as prescribed by the criminal laws of the country or the Violence Act of the country. But murdering people because they are exercising. And I've heard even of a situation where the citizens of Mozambique were shooting at the police. I've heard of one incident where the police said they were shooting at us and we retaliated.
And it's not like they don't have access to arms.
No, that in that country. But again, people who know Mozambique will tell you it's a very militarized state. Almost every other person has a history being in the military or as a guerrilla or in the army. So it's a state that was for 10 years in a very violent civil war that has affected almost every person. It reminds me of Rwanda, more of a situation like Rwanda. But let's hope it won't go there. Let's hope they should do it as soon as possible.
Absolutely. Let's wrap up with the global north. So Donald Trump has always said that now once he becomes president, he'll be working on all of these wars and he will stop them immediately. And obviously Joe Biden has conceded. And Trump even had a phone call with Vladimir Putin, Russian president, probably to discuss the fact that we're two cool dudes. And we're going to work together. And I don't know if Biden is intentionally adding more poison to the chalice that he's handing over to Trump, but all of a sudden authorizing that Ukraine can now use long-distance missiles into Russia, because that happened already. On Wednesday, British-made long-distance missiles were also fired into Russia. This week also, I think Putin signed a declaration to make it easier for them to go nuclear if they need to go nuclear. What on earth is going on?
When you have a sick old man like Joe Biden who will end up in a situation like this, I don't know whether his mind is working very well or the generals in America are war hungry. But I also think politically they are trying to destabilize the incoming government.
That's what I'm saying. It sounds like we're going to drop a bomb and leave the room. And Trump will actually take over government in January, which is in less than 2 months, when there's a mess in the world that the Biden administration have created. But I read an article and I listened to the interview of, I don't know whether he's a former or one of the state attorney generals of the U.S. who said, actually, Donald Trump now, there's a clause in the U.S. laws that they can invoke and they can remove Biden from power legally because of such reckless statements and authorization. They can stop him from implementing during this transitional phase. They can stop him from implementing some of the activities of government. You remember we spoke the other time about the transitional time when we were with Minister Mamunuku Kubai to say, while you are in a transitional time, you can do day-to-day work, but major decision making, like starting a war, should be suspended.
Should be suspended. Especially when the incoming president or the president-elect has already started engagements with the affected parties.
Yeah, because
he didn't only talk to President Vladimir Putin, he also spoke to Zelensky to say, you two need to talk. And President Putin responded. He says he is ready. He said it as recent as during the course of the week by sending his minister who has gone to the G20 to say, tell the Americans, if we have negotiations tomorrow, and they are, this is the part that caught my attention. And Vladimir Putin is saying, if it is President Trump who is chairing and facilitating, he's taking it into the deep end. They've been using presidents from other countries or prime ministers. President Putin is saying, let it be President Trump who sits with me and Zelensky in one room. I will be ready to can do that. And we find a solution to this. These are the leaders who don't want war, who don't want to fight.
But surely also there should be legislation that makes it forbidden or even criminal that the minute someone is a president-elect and they start working on what their deliverables are, and when on the other side is an outgoing, are undoing all of that work.
Yes, that is what it is.
It doesn't make sense.
For Attorney General in the U.S., do they call him Attorney General or State Attorney, whatever, was saying to say, no, we can actually even remove Biden from power immediately for coming with such reckless statements and so forth. But you know what was also dangerous? Before President Putin signed or amended the Nuclear Proliferation Act or whatever the law is, there's some statement that Russia issued as well to say those missiles are American-owned or any other country. Should they be used? Ukraine does not have people who are trained and equipped to use them.
You brought in your people.
So it means the American citizens.
But remember I said this possibly beginning of the year, that there is no way you are supplying a country with weaponry that requires specialized training, skill, and experience that you can do a crash course.
Yeah, never.
And say, Botsang,
never.
Here's a intergalactic
long-range missile.
What is it called? A ballistic missile.
Yeah.
Here's the manual. Go fight.
It doesn't.
There's no way.
There's no way they would have let it into the hands of the Ukrainians.
There's no way.
It's the Americans who want to bomb Russia.
There's no way they don't have soldiers, boots on the ground.
No, they have boots on the ground.
There's no way.
But another interesting element is Germany on Thursday came out and they said, I'm not going there. We are not going to involve and we are not giving any of our missiles, long-range missiles to Ukraine at the moment. But it's too late for Germany. Germany is the second largest supplier of arms to Ukraine after the US. There's more US and NATO forces in Germany than any other country in Europe. Germany started 2 world wars and they lost both. I don't think they want to get into this mess. But them allowing everything that is happening in NATO on their bases and their airspace, I think that's where the Germans went wrong. But the outgoing or the questioned, what do they call him? It's not the prime minister, the Deutsche, now my German is running away, the chancellor has said no, he's not. And remember, he's got office only until January, to go to a referendum or to re-election. He said, no, Germans are not going into that. I think more and more countries of NATO are going to come up and say to the US, you are on your own. Maybe the Brits, here and there, they will hang on to the last minute. But Vladimir Putin and the Russians have dared them. And your friend, Kim Jong-un,
yeah.
Again, he was with President Putin and he said, I've been ready. I'm ready anytime you...
No, but he's got troops there already.
Yes, but with the missiles now. Remember, now he's talking about with the missiles.
Yes.
And remember, Russia and North Korea, they've got uncompared nuclear warheads that if they use, it will be chaos in the world. And this happens when the G20 is sitting in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil to discuss the environment and the climate and the economy and the 2033 whatever project, and the whole old man like Biden goes and wants to do something, comes with utterances that may lead the country or the world to be in World War III. I don't think people like President Vladimir Putin, they have an appetite for that. The Americans must deal with their outgoing president and save the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In fact, speaking of America, just in closing, for me, this is the story from this week that upset me a bit. Actually, a lot, I lie. So the UN Security Council, this week, we're voting on a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas.
Hamas.
And they voted overwhelmingly that there must be a ceasefire, the bombings must stop, and Hamas must return the remaining hostages.
Yeah.
America has always vetoed it and said, if we let this pass, we're emboldening Hamas. And in my mind, how are you trying to solve an impasse, emboldening the one, when we are saying to Hamas, return all the hostages.
Yes.
Let's map a way forward.
Yeah.
But you're saying you don't want to embolden Hamas, but all you're doing is emboldening Israel some more. And that's all you've done for the past 60 years, is embolden Israel.
You know, as what do you call it? The theorists and people say, who knows is the Americans or the Israelis who have kidnapped those people, because they created Hamas. They may be caught up in a corner now, where those kidnapped people may come and tell stories of actually what they experienced, which may expose the Americans and the Israel Defense Force. And that's why would the USA refuse to engage the other party in a complete, whether they are called rebels or terrorists, it's immaterial.
And it's a different story if all you were saying was stop bombing Gaza. But you're saying stop bombing Gaza, and when Hamas return the hostages.
The hostages, yes.
Surely it's laying the groundwork for a way forward.
Yeah, but
you do that.
But also remember, the other problem is the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who is a de facto Minister of Defense, has gone to an extent of saying, even he talks like the Americans, even if they bring back hostages, we won't stop because we want to finish Hamas. You see, that kind of attitude is not going to help the world.
And it doesn't help when people say, for all we know, I remember we said this October last year, that given your intelligence prowess as Israel, there's no way you didn't know they were coming.
Exactly.
There's no way.
Exactly, Fresh. There's no way Israel didn't know this. They are boasting with one of, if not the best intelligence in the world, whether it's their national intelligence or it's their military intelligence. And so many people are taken hostage, and the Israelis didn't pick that up. Look, I've been in the system for too long to know that they are actually, sorry for my French, bullshit in the world. I will go with the theorists who go and say, who knows it is Israel and the US who have kidnapped those people using rebels of Hamas, because in any organization there'll be people who actually, that's why they became successful in targeting Hamas leaders, precisely in the last few months.
Yeah, they could have Askaris there.
Yeah, you understand? They have Askaris in there. And that's why the Americans are now afraid. But the sooner President Trump takes over the reins and the charge, and this is the American lawmakers who must stand up now. The sooner they do it, and they smoke, or they smoke out Netanyahu, as like they are doing with Zelensky. Cut the resources to these people. Tell them we are not going to do that. But Americans are warmongers themselves. If they were serious, look, Trump is a businessman, and I've said I'm banking on him to say we can't continue. Trump doesn't like Hamas. Trump doesn't believe, he's a typical American, he doesn't believe in the two-state solution, but at least he's got an element of saying, I'm not going to have my finger or my signature where lives are going to be lost. At least it's a good start. It's a good start, you understand? I mean, I don't think Trump and the Republicans, they like the Russians. I don't think so. But they are saying we can't be fighting with somebody that we are doing business with, that we can work with hand in hand. You understand? They
might not like the Russians, but I think Trump has a colleague crush on Putin.
They've got a cordial relationship.
Because Putin is a strong man.
Yes.
And Trump, I think, sees himself as a strong man. Although but he sees himself as a Putin.
But again, these are two different characters who are so smart to say that one may be strong militarily and politically. I'm a businessman, I'm a negotiator. I would rather respect his strong points, but let him respect mine. I'm a president of the so-called superpower of the world. Putin, let's work together, but respect that I'm a policeman of the world. And for me, these are two smart gentlemen who are supposed to be ruling the world. And or their own countries, for peace sake and for progress sake in the world. And the sooner, now we are racing against time. Now it's only about time. We know that Biden and the Democrats, who historically historically have killed and have started more wars than the Republicans. The Republicans are very selfish and jealous about their America. America this, America that. But if you look at the history of the world and the wars and the occupation of other countries, it has always been the Democrats in the forefront. Always.
Even your fave, Obama, under his watch, there were probably more innocent lives lost to drone attacks.
Yes, than in Clinton's time. Do you not? No, you actually not maybe. There were more lives lost
yeah, there were.
under Obama than Clinton's time, and they both served 2 terms.
Yeah.
And that's the situation we are sitting with. Well, they come from the same political party, but guys, I wish it could be December. This Joe Biden must go before we see King Un-jun and President Putin pressing their buttons and nuclear warheads are flying
Or they must
all
just
over us.
invoke whatever it is they're able to invoke in the US, and Biden must go home.
Yes. They must invoke what is the provisions they have
Already
in their laws. Biden must go home.
Because
guys.
already he's been doing old people stuff. He shouldn't be trusted with the nuclear codes. He's already doing old people stuff for the last 2 years.
When the Americans or the Republicans, Democrats decided that no, just before the elections, this man is too tired, he's too old, he's too sick, let him sit down. The American people should have taken a decision that time that his own political party does not have confidence in his stature. Therefore, why should he continue?
Yeah, rather let the vice carry on.
Let the vice president carry on than listening to this old man. And again, this is where democracy is wrong. You remember when we started talking about the EFF, I talked about democratic centralism. You don't have confidence in the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of the country who has codes for the nuclear. He's old. How old is this guy? 80-something.
83.
And he's not only old, he's also sick. He's got speech problems. And now you still leave that person to sit with the codes that will release the nuclears of the world to bomb another country. And that's where the problem is. You know, one of these long-range missiles now, you said it on Wednesday, it killed people, although it was the British one. Is it Donbas, in the region of Ukraine, but that is being seen as part of Russia. They've started, they start by killing their own people. So actually, Ukraine killed Ukrainians who are sitting in Donbas just because they're being seen as Russians. And that's the challenge to be having an 83-year-old whose mind is no longer working properly. His health is failing him. And the American lawmakers are still sitting and discussing this. Let them invoke those laws and those clauses that says this man must rest. Take those codes away from this. President Biden is like a unguarded missile himself. And I said, who knows he's dying and he wants to change the world with him? Who knows? What kind of a normal old man will make such decisions when we are talking peace?
On their way out, as it is.
Yes.
On their way out.
The man is left with less than a month in the office. But I'm banking on the Trump administration. I've seen our own white boy from South Africa, Elon Musk, getting into the whole thing as well.
No, they were at the UFC this past weekend.
Yes.
Yeah, they were watching MMA fighting together.
Yeah. Now, but then...
there was always those 2 white kids in the playground. One was the captain of the polo team. One was the captain of the rugby team.
Privilege.
That's how they walk. They walk like that.
I saw that.
And one of their fathers has the hall named after him because they built the rugby field. Yeah, they've got that privilege attitude about them.
No, must adopt me. I'm tired of our country. I want to leave now.
No, we will refuse with you.
The Fresh, I'm tired. You said earlier on, today or yesterday, it was exactly 2 years I'm unemployed, or I'm fired in inverted commas. 2 years I'm sitting at home with no income.
2 years, no pay.
2 years, bruh. No income, no pay. It's 2 years I'm sitting, I'm not getting an income. And then you add May to November. How many months are May to November? About 6 months. So it's actually 30 months I'm not in the office.
Wow.
30. And it cannot be normal. Other people go to court and they even get a date on a Saturday. I went to court a year ago and I'm still, waiting for a date that will come next year. And these are some of the things that frustrates people in the judicial system of the country. But if you are a law-abiding citizen or person like me, you will wait. I don't know when will I run out of patience. and what will happen if I run out of patience. But it's a wait-and-see situation.
Absolutely. We wait with you, B.
Yeah, no, thanks, brother, man.
And as much as we have you in our thoughts and prayers, I think only the right justice is all we need.
I'm confident, Fresh, it will prevail. And I was saying to my mom the other day, I've waited 24 months. What is 3 months?
Absolutely.
No, it's 3 months to go. I've waited 24 months. So let me rather wait 90 days.
And ladies, you've got to love a 52-year-old man who still says, my mom. Botsang,
I talked to my
marriage
mom.
material. Call him today.
I am not joking that you can't get married when you are broke. Let me get back to
No,
work.
but the woman that marries you when you are broke is the keeper.
Is the keeper.
That's your kune.
Okay. I'll keep that.
B, great show.
Thanks, my brother.
Great
Thanks
chat
very
as
much.
always.
You know, I'm tired. When are we getting leave?
Hey, my man, I'm so tired.
I'm exhausted,
I have
man.
no idea.
No. Okay, let's must decide when are we having a shutdown. I'm exhausted, and there's so much happening when we are supposed to take a break.
No,
I'm
remember we took a
exhausted.
break 2 weeks ago, and then a movie happened in the country.
And
and we had to come in.
you had to drag me back to the studio. No, but I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that.
Hang in there, a couple of more weeks.
Thanks, bro.
Where do we find you online? Where do we find you on social media?
botsangm@gmail.com and at botsangm on social media handles, and on WhatsApp it's 082-485-9100. Thank you to the followers, the viewers, and to you, brother man.
Thank you for your support, guys. Thanks for interacting. Thanks for liking, for subscribing, for sharing links, for sharing video clips. We appreciate your support. We see you, especially to all the political heavyweights that watch the show, but don't necessarily say it in public.
And we know them.
But we thank you for your messages on the side. We'll never expose you, but we appreciate that you watch. Bye-bye.
Hey, bye-bye. But
Guys.
you know what they are saying?
Yeah.
Hey, they say we are operating in another field. They say they are afraid to come out.
They must come out. You're just watching. It's not like you are endorsing. It's not like you are saying, I agree with Botsang or I disagree.
No, but yeah, I told some of them, come out. Actually, I must start inviting them
Yes.
to the studio and see what they say.
Absolutely. We're done for the week. Thank you for hanging out with myself and Botsang on this week's Wow What a Week, #PoliTricks. We do this again next week. Coming to you live from Discover TV. From next week, we'll be coming to you from our brand new home in Bryanston. We'll tell you more details about it next week. It's a beautiful studio, a beautiful setup. It's a beautiful home, and you're going to love it. We'll even be able to have a live studio audience in our brand new home, and hopefully you'll be one of the first. Shout out to Pezulu Works for all of the cinematography. Trevor and your team, we love you. We appreciate you. Thank you for making us look good always. When people meet us, they're like, oh, you guys look better on TV. It's thanks to Pezulu Works. Imagine what they could do for your wedding video. You could look good. And shout out again to our executive producer, Keletso Modisakeng. We're part of the Africa Podcast Network. Email us at waw@africapodcastnetwork.com. Till next week, have a wow week in spite of yourselves. We're out of here.